Because older adults who are poor may not have the earning potential in the marketplace to live independently, they may feel in some ways trapped in their circumstances by their financial issues and insecurities. They may feel like they cannot leave their abusive situation, or they may feel as if when they leave the situation, they may be compelled to or need to return to an abusive situation because of those issues and concerns that they might face and those challenges that they have. And certainly that's something that service providers need to keep in mind. They also need to keep in mind the fact that older victims who are poor may need to access services for longer periods of time than are typical for other groups of victims, and they may need to restructure or refocus and their service provision in a way that is most beneficial to an older victim who is poor.
Poverty is a unique set of circumstances because when an individual is in poverty, most often the only thing they have is family. And so resources may be an issue, the inability to have transportation, food, shelter, and clothing. When we discuss poverty, we usually use that type of terminology. But what is essential in individuals that lack is the individuals that are with them are their wealth. So what presents an issue is that now I'm removing your wealth in a sense. We may not have much, but we have one another. And so going into a home and trying to do an assessment or provide services that may disengage this individual from their wealth, or the only thing that's stable, the only thing they can depend on when they do not have food, or when the lights are out, or when they have to use candles, or when they have to couch surf and things like that. Poverty presents many issues because oftentimes individuals in poverty are not aware of resources. They don't know that the programs are out there. And sometimes this is like what I call a ghost group, because they're hidden within society most times in urban areas, depending on the significance or the layers of poverty that present. And so trying to come into a situation where people are already hurting and telling them that how they're living, regardless of the resources, is a problem for them, can be tricky as far as providing services.
We hear about older individuals that buy cat food and eat it because they don't have the money to purchase food. We hear about older individuals cutting their pill in half because they can't afford co-pays. Just imagine these things confounded with domestic violence. In fact, that is probably one of the biggest challenges for an older victim in trying to leave an abusive relationship is, although the abuse at home is bad, it's better than the certain poverty she's going to face if she leaves.
Our earning potential as we get older diminishes. Trying to find a new job when you're older it can be challenging. We know that ageism exists out there in the workforce, and people may be hesitant to hire somebody who's older, whether it's against the law or not. I think there is that. So to get out of poverty is very, very difficult. The limited housing options that might be available, especially for that 50 to 62 age range population, often low-income housing has long waiting lists, and even senior housing sometimes can have long waiting lists. So that need for maybe additional time in an emergency shelter situation, and looking at what other options might be available. I think that whole idea of trying to leave when you know that there are no options out there as far as reclaiming any kind of financial stability increases the likelihood that a victim may not feel like they have that option to leave their current situation, or that it will be better. We often like to talk about, I think when we're providing services, we often think about, we're very focused on that violence and wanting that abuse to stop. But often for that older survivor, that may not be their number one priority. Their number one priority may be getting their heating bill paid, or getting their rent paid, or where's the money going to come from for me to do these kind of things. So I think there becomes many layers that have to try to be addressed by advocates to try and help victims solve some of these really challenging problems.